One of my sons comes to me and says, Dad, play rock, paper, scissors. Now, many of you have played rock, paper, scissors, and you know the rule. And when it comes to rock, paper, scissors, I didn't want to tell him that I was the 5th grade champion of rock, paper, scissors at Wiggstown Elementary. He didn't know what he was up against. Now, I always start with rock. So we went 1, 2, 3. I did rock. He did scissors. Rock, paper, scissors. Dad wins. So let's do it again, Dad. All right. 1, 2, 3. I did scissors. He did paper. Scissors cut paper. Dad, one more time. 1, 2, 3. I did paper. He did rock. Paper covers rock. Dad wins again. 3rd time in a row. I don't have a problem beating my kids. When it comes to a game, it's done to me. Dad, let's do it one more time. He says, is it okay? I said, 1, 2, 3. And before I got anything down, he goes like this. And I said, what's that? And he said, that's God. And God beats everything. You know what? When God shows up unexpectedly, everything changes. We've been working our way through the book of Job. And today, we've been through 30-some chapters. 35 of them has been everybody giving their perspective. The first couple kind of gave us the setting of the scene and what's happening. Then we went through 35 chapters giving it perspectives. Everybody has given their perspective about what's happened to Job. Last week we talked about Christian friends. And we saw 3 of Job's friends who came to give their perspective. I mean, they went as far to say, Job, you know it's because of sin. You had to have sinned. So Job, just say that you're a sinner and die and get it over with. Earlier we saw the perspective of Job's wife. Such a lovely woman. Who comes down in all of Job's suffering and says, honey, just curse God and die. We saw some stranger that come by, probably somebody just sitting there listening to the debates. I mean, because this comfort was more like speeches. And as this 4th guy, he has to give his opinion. Why this has happened to Job. We even see Job chime again. And Job giving his perspective on what's happening to him. Now, if you're unfamiliar with what's been happening to Job, let me back up a little bit and kind of catch you up to speed. Job's a godly man. He worshiped God. He loved God. He sacrificed to God. He prayed to God. He worshiped God. And God allows Satan to test Job, to show his faith and then to prove his sincerity. And God told Satan, you can do anything you want to, just don't touch him. So Satan stripped Job of everything. He took away, Job was a wealthy man. Had all kinds of animals, all kinds of possessions. Satan took them all away. And within a matter of moments, Job hears they've all been killed in different ways, or taken or something. He had many servants. All of his servants are killed. He had 10 children. All of his children are killed. And he learns about this. It wasn't like stretched over years. It was in a matter of moments. As one is speaking, somebody else comes and says, Job, this happened as well. He was stripped of everything. But you know, when we look at Job's life, it said that Job ripped his clothes and poured ash on his head. He mourned, and he fell down on his face and worshipped God. Job's still worshiping God, so we see he's a godly man. So Satan comes before God again and says, you know, he'd do anything to save his life. You know, he'd sacrifice his kids if he had to just so he could live. You let me touch him. You let me afflict Job, and he'll curse you to your face, God. God says you can do anything to him, just don't kill him. So Satan does. He afflicts Job with some kind of disease, and Job is suffering from boils. And where we find Job through most of the story is sitting in the trash dump, taking broken pieces of pottery, trying to scrape the sores, the boils on himself, just to give himself some relief. If you can imagine the worst of the worst of the worst, that's where Job's at. But through it all, Job doesn't curse God. Job may ask why. He may question. He's even going to say, I just want to talk to God and see what's going on. Job thinks he's going to die. He wants to try to convince that he hasn't sinned. His friends are all, Job, do this, Job, do that. That's where Job's at. Job says, if I could just have a face-to-face with God, I'd argue my case. Job's a godly man. If we jump back to Job chapter 13, in verse 15 of that chapter, Job says, though he slay me, I will trust him. He said, even though all this is happening, I still will trust God. But I'd really like to see him face to face. I'd like to find out why this has happened. I want to argue my case before God. And in chapter 38, God shows up. And I want us to look at what happens when God shows up unexpectedly. Job is about ready to have that face-to-face with God. So let's start at chapter 38, verse 1. It says, then the Lord answered Job. So the first thing we see is God hears Job's prayers. Job has been saying all along, his prayer has been, I want to talk to God. I want to see him face to face. I want to argue my case. Remember, Job is a godly man. He's a righteous man. He has not cursed God through all this. And I think God honors him. We'll say, okay, your request is you want to see me face to face? I'm going to come to you face to face. Job wants to ask God why. Let me ask you a question. Between you and God, not you and I. Has there ever been a time in your life something's going on and you just wished you could ask God why? You wish you could just, God, why is this happening to me? You know, Job can say, if we were to put Job into 2017, Job can say, God, I worship you. I serve you. I work at the church. I do the work of an evangelist. I minister to others. I worship. I pray. I read my Bible. I do it. Job can say, I do it because he did. He was a godly man. He just wanted to ask God why. And God comes to Job. Then the Lord answered Job. He's going to speak to Job. And we're going to see that God does answer that prayer. He's coming to Job face to face. But you know, a lot of times the things we ask God and what we have in mind and what God has in mind is sometimes two entirely different things. I mean, I can think of things in my life that I've prayed for, and I've always been a little nervous about asking God about specific things. Because sometimes I know what I ask God for and what He gives me exactly what I asked for, but it's not what I had in mind. You know, so sometimes I try to be very specific. You know, one of the things I used to hate to do was drive if the roads were bad. It doesn't bother me near as much anymore, but if the road, I would get physically sick if the roads were snowy and icy and I had to go to work. And I just hated it. So I'd pray. Now, I didn't pray, Lord, help me get to work safe or help me get home safe. Because I thought, you know, safe could be 3 days later. You know, so I'm very specific as I pray. I would say, you know, Lord, help me around this curve. Please don't let the wheel slip. Don't let the back end go. Let the front end hold on. Let me have the power. Don't let my wheel spin. Now, Lord, I'm around the curve. Help me up the hill. Lord, don't let the wheel spin up the hill. Don't let me throw any snow, throw any. I was very specific. Now, I tell you what, I could say more words in a prayer in that hour going home than most folks could ever. Because I was trying to cover everything. But you know, sometimes everything I thought I was going to cover, there was still the unexpected. God answers Job. He comes to Job. Now, I got to think of, what do we expect from God? You know, if God's coming to Job, what do we expect from that? What do we expect from that visit? And I've come up with a few things. Number one, we expect that God will come in a soft, sweet way. Now, keep in mind, for the first 37 chapters, first two, we kind of get what's happening. for 35 chapters at least, Job has been suffering. And if we can imagine the worst of suffering, and when God came and he said, God, if I could just see you face to face, here's what we expect. We expect God to come to Job and come along like some grandfather figure and take Job up on his lap and put his arm around him and say, oh, Job, you have suffered so much and you have endured so much. And Job, I just think that you've probably had enough. That's what we expect. We expect God to come in some soft, sweet way. Because our picture of God, many times, we know, we'll sing of how wonderful he is and how marvelous he is and how mighty he is and how awesome he is. But a lot of times our picture of God is still this grandfather figure in the sky that wants to take us on his lap and go, oh, I think you've suffered enough now. So part of the things I think that we expect for God to come is we expect him to come in a soft, sweet way. The second thing I think, we expect God to come and explain himself to Job. Now keep in mind, we know the story. We read in chapter 1, we read in chapter 2, where Satan come before God. And Satan comes along and God says, have you considered my servant Job? And he said, well, yeah, I've considered him, but you got such a hedge of protection around him, nobody can touch him. I've considered him, but, I know what's going on. You guys have such a relationship, and he's willing to give it all up as long as his life's not touched. We know that part of the story. Job don't. Job knows we expect God to come along, and while he's got Job in his lap, and his arms are, well, Job, let me tell you what's really going on. One day Satan come along, and he was bragging about how powerful he was, how awesome he was, and how he had everybody under his control. And I said, have you thought about Job? And Job, I let him test you. I let him do all these things to you just because I knew it would prove your faithfulness. And Job, one day it's all going to be restored. You're going to get twice as much as you ever did. We expect God to explain himself. And unfortunately, a lot of times in our life, we think that God needs to explain himself. I hear it all the time. Folks say, well, when I get to heaven, I'm just going to ask God. No. When we get to heaven and see the glory of God, every knee will bow and every tongue will confess that Jesus Christ is Lord. Our only response when we see Jesus face to face is we're going to be flat on our face because we realize we're not going to ask him anything. But we think God needs to explain himself to us. Lord, I don't know why this is happening to me. Would you please tell me why? What we expect is God's going to come in this soft, sweet way, that God's going to come and explain himself, and we think that Job deserves this from God. We think that because so much has happened to Job, that Job deserves this. That he's had so much happen to him, and he deserves a little good, and he deserves a little God, and because of our human thinking. So I said, why do we think that way? Why do we get the idea that Job deserves something from God? Why do we get the idea that we deserve something from God? Often we do. Well, I come to church today, God. Aren't you going to do this good for me? I prayed today, Lord. I even prayed, and I told 5 people I prayed. And so give me something. I almost picture, sometimes our mindset, we don't do it. But sometimes our mindset is, as the offering plate comes by, well, we don't want everybody else to say, you see this, God? You said, here. We think that God, we deserve something from God. And I think Job thought that too. So I have to ask, why do we think that? Why is it that we think we deserve, or why do we think Job deserves something? I've come up with a couple reasons. Number one is we are man-centered. We center everything around ourselves. We think that God should serve man. You say, oh, Pastor Dan, I don't think that. How do you pray? If you say, I don't think that God should serve man, how do you pray? Because let me give you my imitation how I believe most folks pray. Lord, it's me again, it's Dan. You're awesome and you're almighty and you're holy. And Lord, I need this bill paid. And I need this to happen in my family. And Lord, straighten this one out at church. And Lord, help me to do this. and give me this, and do this for me, and heal this, and we start with our grocery list. We are man-centered. And I think one of the big problems why we think that Job deserves something from God is because we are man-centered. Second reason, we think God owes us something. Because Job fell down and worshipped. When everything was stripped away, and it said Job ripped his clothes, put dust on his head, he was mourning. And it says that he fell on his face and worshiped God. We think God just should, look at Job. I'm just going to give it to him right now. And we get the same idea with ourselves. Well, because I come to church, things is going to go better in my life. Because I read my Bible, that things ought to just go so smoothly. I started the day with prayer. So now, folks, all of these things are important in our Christian life. And they're important in our Christian walk. But God doesn't owe us anything. It's only by God's grace that we're saved. It's only by God's will that we're here. God doesn't owe us. The reason we think that, we're man-centered. We believe God owes us something. But the third reason, I think we can identify with Job. I think often in our lives, we identify with who Job is. Because how many of us have through the story of Job, have sat here thinking, I hope that never happens to me. I even said it. When Satan comes before God and God says, have you considered my servant Job? The words out of my mouth was, God, if you ever think of that, just let it go. Because we identify with Job and we think, I hope that never happens to me. But then we get to thinking, if it does, I want God to do this. If I'm ever tested for my faith, I want it to be short and sweet and to the point, and the whole time I'm being tested, I want to feel God's loving arms around me. Because we identify with Job. We suffer. We've had things happen in our life. We've had those times that we've thought, I just want to ask God why. Why do we think Job deserves something? For the same reason we think we do. We're us, we're man-centered. We believe God owes us. And we identify with Job. But God's come to Job. And I got a feeling, I know because I've read the story, it's not going to be what Job expects. So we not only see that God hears Job's prayers, but the second thing I want you to see is God shows his power. Go back to verse 1 again. Then the Lord answered Job out of a whirlwind and said, Who is this that darkens counsel by words without knowledge? God comes to Job out of a whirlwind. Now, as best as we can describe this in what we know, he's not talking about in the fall when this little wind thing takes a few of the leaves in your yard and does a cyclone with them. As best as we can describe this, God comes to Job in a tornado. He comes to Job in something very fierce. And when we think about that, here comes God to Job. Now, what did we picture? We pictured grandfather coming down, taking Job on his lap, and a soft, sweet voice going, Oh, Job, you're suffering so much. And here's why you're suffering. And here's what I want to do for you. But God comes to Job in the middle of a tornado. And I thought, why? And I come up with a couple reasons. Number one, because a tornado is one of the most powerful forces on the face of the earth. A tornado will level trees. A tornado will level houses. A tornado will pick up cars and throw them like they're nothing. God didn't come as that little grandfather figure that we often expect. He come like a tornado, showing the most powerful force on all the earth. Second thing I come up with is a tornado is unpredictable. You never know. They can tell you there's going to be a tornado. We think there's a tornado going to touch down here. They can't tell you which way it's going to go. They can't tell you when it's going to lower, when it's going to raise. All you ever hear on the news is, there's signs that there could be tornadoes in such and such an area, and take shelter. Never, they might say, okay, there's a snowfall coming, it's going to come down through here, and the jet stream's going to push it this way, and these folks are going to get an inch, and these folks are going to get 3 inches, these folks are going to get 10 inches. But never do you hear them say, a tornado is going to touch down in this spot, it's going to go from here to here, it's going to claim a path this wide, it's going to take out this many houses, this many trees, this many cars, and this many people. Why? Because it's unpredictable. A tornado does whatever it wants to do. I think God comes to Job in a tornado because God can do whatever God wants to do. I don't want to say he's unpredictable, but I think God knows what his will is. We done pictured him coming to Job nice and easy. But God can do whatever God wants to do. And the third thing I want you to think about is God is in charge of the tornado. Every tornado, God's in charge of that. When a tornado touches down and wipes out a trailer park somewhere, God was in that tornado. God is in charge of that. So everything and all his power, God has control over that. So here comes God to Job in all his power to do whatever he wants to do. Remember Job's request? If I just had a face-to-face with God, I could argue my case. But God didn't come like the grandfather figure. God came in all his power. He came like a whirlwind or a tornado, showing the power of God. And then God speaks. So the third thing I want us to look at is God rebukes Job. Let's go to verse 2. Who is this that darkeneth counsel by words without knowledge? Who is this that darkens my counsel? Now the counsel there, we're looking, it's God's will. So when we're looking at who is this that darkens my will without knowledge? Let me put it in a way that we might say it today. Who is this that opens his mouth and says something against what I want to do without even having a clue? That's what he's asking Job. Who is this? Job says, if I could just have a face-to-face, I'd argue my case. And God says, who are you to darken my will? To try to change my will? To go against my will? Remember the verse I told you earlier? Job 13:15, where Job says, though he slay me, I will trust him. I only gave you part of the verse. Because the rest of the verse says, but I will maintain my ways before him. Though he slays me, I will trust him, but I'm going to hold my own before him. Picture this. Picture Job thinking that he's going to come to God, he's going to get a face-to-face, and he's going to stand there, nose to nose to God, and say, Lord, I want to tell you. But often we do that. Often we do that with God. Lord, I want to tell you one thing. You did this to me, and I'm going to be mad at you for the rest of my life. Lord, this happened, so this is what I'm going to do. Lord, I'm not happy, so I'm not going to church. I'm not tickled to death with what you're doing in my life, so I'm not tithing at all. We're saying like Job, I want a face-to-face, and I'm going to hold my own. But notice what God does. Here he says, I'm going to go. Who is this that darkens the counsel by words without knowledge? Verse 3 says, gird up now their loins like a man, for I will demand of thee, and answer thou me. Here's what God's saying. Job, you want a piece of me? You said you did. You want a piece of me? Now, I've always thought of myself more of a lover than a fighter. For one simple reason. I was afraid if I got in a fight, it'd hurt. And I guarantee you it would have. Because whether I won or whether I lost, when my mom found out, it would hurt. So I just decided I'd rather just avoid most fights. But one day, I had somebody give me the best fighting advice I ever had in my life. They said, Dan, if they're bigger than you, or stronger than you, or have a longer reach than you, don't fight them. I mean, could you imagine fighting someone with a longer reach, and you're reaching out as far as you can, but theirs is farther, and every time you reach out, they pop you in the nose? Job's about to find out how long God's reach is. God says, gird up your loins and face me like a man. You want a piece of me? I'm going to ask the questions, and you are going to answer me. Job, you said you wanted a face-to-face. Bring it on. Here it comes. Now, the good news for you today is through the rest of chapter 38, 39, and 40. God asks him 77 questions. So go ahead and number your paper. Hope you brought a sandwich. No, we're not going to look at them all. But God's going to ask him 77 questions. And in all this, and as we go through part of this chapter, as you read 38 or 39 and 40 on your own, we're going to see God never explains himself. God doesn't have to. He's God. He doesn't have to explain himself to Job. He doesn't have to explain himself to anybody else. But what God does do is he demonstrates himself. He's going to demonstrate to God who he is. Job, last part of verse 3, you think you know so much? Answer this. And he starts through. Verse 4. Where was thou when I laid the foundations of the earth? Declare if you have understanding. Job, where were you when the earth was formed? Where were you? You want a face-to-face with me? Let's start with credentials. Job, where were you when everything was created? We all know Job is a created being. He's a man. He's a human. He only lived a human life. You know, Job says, you want to question me? God says, where were you when the foundations of the earth was? Verse 5 says, who has laid the measurements thereof, if thou knowest, or hast stretched a line upon it? Where were you, Job, when the foundations of the earth was laid? And where were you? What part of it did you figure out to know how everything should be? I love science. Science is so wonderful because no matter how hard they try, they continue to prove the Bible right. Oh, they try to prove it wrong, and they'll come up with all kinds of stuff. And now, I heard this a few years back now. They have seen that the earth is the perfect man planet. It spins at the right rotation. Everything's at the right speed. Everything orbits at the right speed. It's the perfect dimensions in order for man to sustain here. God says, Job, where were you when the measurements was laid out? Where were you when the line was drawn? Job, do you have a place to stand? I was here when the foundations were laid. I'm the one who put everything into orbit. And he goes on, jump down to verse 12. Hast thou commanded the morning since thy days, and caused the day spring to know his place? So Job, you wasn't here when the foundations of the earth was laid. You didn't measure everything out, put everything into orbit, and make everything work as it should. But God, Job, since your days, how you been doing at making sure the sun comes up, and making sure the day arises, and making sure everything stays like it should? Job, how you doing there? You know, can you imagine Job? How can he answer? God's showing his power, and Job can't even answer. Job hadn't done nothing with the morning. Job, you're so full of wisdom. You wanted face to face with me? How you been doing making sure the sun comes up? Making sure the morning arises? Jump down to verse 18. Hast thou perceived the breadth of the earth? Declare if thou knowest it all. You know how big things are? Job, let me ask you, how deep's the ocean? What's it like the last time you went walking around down there? Job, you know it all. You want to face-to-face with me? Then I want to ask you, what are the dimensions of the earth? I did a little research. Here's what I come up with. in the earth, the deepest part of the ocean is somewhere around 7 miles deep. Now, to give you a perspective of that, if you took Mount Everest, turned it upside down, and put it down in the deepest part of the ocean, there would be another 1.5 miles from the mountain to the waters, to where the top of the water was. So the pressure down there, they can't even explore it with all the science that we have, all the technology. They cannot just explore the deepest parts of the ocean because the pressure is so great. It would just crush everything like a grape. God says to Job, tell me about the dimensions. Tell me about the size of it. You've been all over it, right, Job? You think you know everything. You think you have the right to question me. Tell me about that. Verse 22. How hast thou entered the treasures of the snow? Or hast thou seen the treasures of the air? So Job, you know everything. You do everything. You want to question me? How's it going with the weather? You got that under control, right? We all know we can't control the weather. Not a one of us can. Oh, we might pray for sun, and we might pray for rain, but it's ultimately up to God. He says, how are you? You taking care of where the snow is? You taking care of where the rain is? Job, you want to question me? What's God doing? He's showing his power. And he's showing to Job that Job really has no right to question God's will. Now, one of my favorites comes from verse 31. Canst thou bind the sweet influences of Pleiades, or loose the bands of Orion? Now, I want you to keep in mind for a moment the time frame. Job doesn't have all the telescope technology that we have. He doesn't have, billions of dollars going into a program to study what's out there. But God's asking questions about two formations of stars. The first is Pleiades. And he says, let me read it again. Can you bind the sweet influences of Pleiades? Pleiades is 7 stars. And from the whole time that they've been monitoring these 7 stars, they have never shifted. They are constant all the time. Now, let me give you a little fun fact. The Japanese word for Pleiades, Subaru. Look at the emblem of the 7 stars on that foreign card. They never change. He says, who are you, Job? To take care of the sweet binds of Pleiades. But then he goes further, he says, or loosen Orion's belt. The star formation that makes up the belt of Orion is constantly separating. Ever so slightly, but from the time they've started monitoring such things, that belt continues to separate. Job, way back then, with no technology, God says, Job, who are you to be able to do this? We go into the next chapter, it's going to talk about the animal kingdom. Job, do you take care of all the animals? The following chapter is going to talk about wild animals that nobody can tame. We don't even know what it's talking about there. But what he's saying is, Job, you are in no position. You are in no position to question me. Job, you want to face to face. You want to ask why. But Job, you can't ask why. Because you're not God. So I thought, okay, great story. A lot of good stuff in these chapters. What do we take away? Well, what do we go home with? Well, what do we leave this morning and apply to our life? I've come up with 3 things. 3 things I want you to leave here with this morning. As we look at when God shows up. Number 1, everything is under God's control. No matter what's going on in your life, no matter what was going on in Job's life, everything is under God's control. If God control, I want you this afternoon to read at least chapter 38. Look at all these questions that God asked Job. He's going to ask him about everything that we can imagine. And God says, I'm in control of that. Go on to the next chapter and all the animal kingdom, and God says, I'm in control of that. If everything in Job's day is under his control, under God's control, can he not control what's going on in our lives? Then why do we have to think we need to fix it all the time? God is in control, and everything is under his control. Number two, how we respond is important to God. In just a moment, our hymn of invitation is going to be, where he leads me, I will follow. And in a moment, when we finish, we'll ask everybody to stand, and we're going to sing those words, where he leads me, I will follow. But do we really? Are we really going to follow God? Are we going to sit here, or stand here, in our human lives, and if I could just see God face to face, I'd find out why this is happening. What's going on? How we respond is very important to God. For Job, I think God's offended with the fact that Job wants a face-to-face. Job, who are you to question me? Who are you to question the great God of the universe? Is my will for you not good enough? Folks, God has a plan for your life. And sometimes we don't understand it. But God has a plan for your life. Will we follow him? Or in just a moment, are we just going to sing words? The third thing I want you to take from here is you cannot understand if you've never been through it. You cannot understand if you've never been through it. A few years back, I had an experience that I look back on now and I say it was fun. I was leading some of our local Cub Scouts, and the training center up here had just opened. And the Cub Scouts really didn't care about the training center, but boy, all the adults wanted to know what was going on up there. So we arranged a Cub Scout trip to go to the training center. And they took us up to the firing range, and they showed us that. They showed us some of the buildings and talked to us about some of the things. They even allowed us to take our cars out on that test track that you see from the 4-lane. You can imagine me with a busload of Cub Scouts in that old white church bus we used to have. I hit a great speed of 47. That's just all she do, downhill. We had fun. But then they take us out, and you ever notice, when you're up on the 4-lane, they got this great big cement pad down there. There's houses and stuff all around it. You ever wonder what they did there? I got to find out. The guy says, I need some volunteers to get the car with me. We're going to show these kids some stuff. It has to be adults, can't be the kids. And I got volunteered. I was a Cub Scout leader. Couldn't whip out in front of all these little boys. I wanted to be a role model too. So I got in the front seat of the car. And the guy, he took that little Ford and he goes clear out past the ends of the thing. Clear off out a road, out past the thing. He shoved that car in reverse. And he starts backwards, and somewhere about the middle of that flat piece of ground, he was hitting about 50 miles an hour backwards. And he jerked something, turned something, and I closed my eyes and screamed, mercy to God, and the next thing I know, we was going circles. And we lived. And he looked at me, he says, let's do it again. I couldn't say no, because I couldn't speak. My heart was clear up here, so next thing I know, here we go, backwards again. Third time, he's going forward. He's hitting about 90 miles an hour. He says, this is fun. Watch this. He does a figure 8, and I swear the Dukes of Hazzard had nothing on us. Now, folks, you could all sit there and watch your preacher be done. And you could have said, oh, this is how he did it. But this morning I could tell you the story. Because I was gripping the passenger seat of that car. We can't understand the will of God unless we're in the middle of it. We might not understand what's happening. We might not understand why these things are taking place in our life. But when we're in the middle of God's will, we'll know that He is in control. So I have a question for you this morning. What's going on in your life that maybe you've been questioning? Maybe right now there's something. And you're wondering, God, why? Why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to my friend? Why is this happening to my family? Maybe right now there's something you're questioning. I want to encourage you to do something this morning. As we sing, where He leads me, I will follow. If right now there's something you're questioning, will you go to God in prayer and ask Him to accept His will for your life? And as you accept His will you surrender to His will? And then truly say, God, wherever you lead, I will follow. Because it's your will. Father, thank you for your word. Father, many times in our life we question why. Maybe sometimes we foolishly, well, when I see God. But Lord, for each of us who right now are questioning, help us to surrender to your will. Help us to see your will in our lives. Help us to follow you. Or maybe there's folks here that their surrender needs to be their whole life to you and accept your gift of salvation. I pray that today they do. Or maybe there's folks here with burdens on their heart and they need to bring those burdens to you. I pray they do. And Lord, I pray that your will for each one of us, we will say yes and let your will be done. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Please stand as we sing page 288, Where He Leads Me.